When I was in high school playing jazz, I had a friend who said to me, "So in your solos, you're basically just playing licks?" Which always made me wonder. When he was learning how to talk, maybe he had a relative who came up to him and said, "You're learning English. Oh, so you're just like learning phrases? What's the point of learning licks?" The point of learning licks is learning a language. Today we're talking about bluegrass licks, and we're going to be talking about the bluegrass language. So not only are these licks a piece of vocabulary, a phrase, but also they're going to show you a very specific thought process of mind, an idea, a concept, which you can take out of the lick and bring into your own playing. Each one of these licks is going to hopefully bring to you a novel idea or concept, some of which are not really used in bluegrass very much in the first place. So all of these licks I'm about to show you are in the key of G. So we're playing out of a G shape, which means they could be in a whole number of different capoed keys that we might be playing in bluegrass. Lick number one, here we go. Okay, now let's try it slowed down, around 80 BPM. Okay, so this lick is right out of the book of Jake Workman. It really features this sharp 4, this C sharp. I think of it as a sharp 4 and not a flat 5, although if you're kind of analyzing it from a blues perspective, you might think of it more as a flat 5. I hear this a lot in players like Jake Workman and certain fiddle players, tunes maybe like Blackberry Blossom. Sharp 4, almost this Lydian sound, and I think it's really cool. And so what I've done is I've taken this phrase and I've kind of put it up an octave too, and it's a little bit of a big stretch. The trick to a lot of these lines that sound unique is making that stretch, getting used to that stretch. There's no reason your hand can't get used to that stretch, right? Even if you have smaller hands, you will be able to get this stretch eventually. You have to practice it and you have to get used to it, and you will be able to reach this major third. Also, please make a note that a lot of these phrases don't end perfectly within 4 or 8 bars, like the one I just played didn't. And I wanted to do this with a set of licks. When I was younger playing jazz in high school, I learned these studies out of this book that Jim Hall had written for guitar. I clearly remember in the introduction of that book, I forget what the title was, he talked about how a lot of the phrases in the studies were meant to offset you in the wrong place, or in an unexpected place. And that was on purpose, to start to get you familiar with that feeling of ending in a weird spot and being able to correct it or still land the playing. Okay, let's move on to lick number 2. In this lick, I'm making use of a diminished idea. We're using that diminished chord to create tension, which then resolves back to our nice 1. You can move this pattern of diminished up in minor thirds. That's a whole step and a half step. So if we're taking this, right, a whole step would be there and a half step would be there, right? So that now we can play it again. Okay, now whole step, half step. We could even move it up continually. Keep on going. We're right back where we were. on to lick number 3. This one's a beast. We're gonna go all across the fretboard. Here we go. Okay, like I said, the idea here is get up the neck. Take these pentatonic boxes. Here's a major G pentatonic. And we're gonna take that and basically use slides. And slides are really good because they can help you get up the neck. Little triad right there. So pentatonic box, slide, slide, triad, slide. Now we're in minor pentatonic. Major, and then we go down here and we kind of capture a little bit of this Tony Rice lick, right? 12, 10, 10, 12. It's almost like this kind of big dominant with a fourth in there. There's your fourth, dominant seventh, root. And then we're using this escape note, right? It's like going, but instead we're going open, and that frees us up to get from this high position up the neck down low to kind of finish with a semi-G run. Get up and then get back quick. Okay, let's try lick number 4. Okay, let's talk about this lick for a second and what the idea is. So this one employs one of my favorite shapes. I'm gonna do a longer form video on this shape. So if we start this on this G, root, minor third, fifth, sixth, root, third, fifth. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna start it a minor third down. So we're gonna start with that E in the bass. Minor sixth, root, third, fifth, minor sixth, root, third, fifth. This arpeggio has a relationship to a couple different chords and a couple different sounds. One way you can think of it is as if we're playing this G minor 6. So it would be, and then we're resolving back to a major 1 chord. However, you could also analyze it from a different direction. It's almost like a C dominant chord, right? If you imagine this sound underneath. So it's almost, in this context, analysis-wise, you could hear it as a 4, a dominant 4 chord, back to a 1, like. Or you could just hear it as, which are similar, they're related. Some theory in there, some harmony in there. Don't pay attention to the specifics of the theory, just pay attention to how it sounds. To me, that's what drew me to this. It's a really cool sound, and it's a shape that you can arpeggiate in a beautiful way. So what I'm doing is, right, so you got some hammer-ons. Hammer, hammer, hammer. If you wanted to, you could take this idea that it's almost like a dominant 7th chord played off of the 3rd of that chord, and let's take it back down to G. I've done this before in other videos, right? Now you have all these. Hopefully that's useful. Okay, let's try out lick number 5. The idea I'm trying to get across here is that you can play the harmony of a key up and down the neck using triads. So the idea here is like we're starting like on this A minor, we're going to this B minor, right? So 2 chord, diatonic 2, 1, 2, 3 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord, 6 chord, 7 chord, back to 1. And we're outlining and then we've got this pedal steel kind of almost like Bird's Clarence White kind of lick here, B bender lick. This is something that Tony Rice does a lot, especially out of a D shape. This is how he ends tunes. Similarly, if we're in G, it's like a D triad and then we're getting back to G. So it's almost like, or like. Okay, let's move on to our last lick of the day. Okay, another diminished scale. Okay, this is a half whole diminished scale starting off your G root. And the idea here is that we're just walking up the scale to create tension, and then we're landing on this blues lick. It's the relationship between these two sounds. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed those licks. Please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment if you like the licks, if you want more details. Yeah, what kind of licks should I do next? I hope I hear some of these licks out in the bluegrass world. I hope you steal them.